Well, hello there, FC Dallas Curious fan. Welcome to another edition of Third Degree, the podcast. Hi, my name is Peter, and I am joined by my two friends, Dan Crook. Hello, Dan.
Hello. How are you?
I'm super. Boy, you sound incredibly chipper today. Is that because Luton Town won last weekend?
Yeah, 2 in a row. We're not bottom anymore. We're just second bottom.
Pip, pip. And, of course, our fearless leader, editor and founder of ThirdDegree.net, Buzz Carrick. Come in, Buzz.
Hello, Peter calling in today from Denton, Texas, where I'm ready for the Diablos' first ever U.S. Open Cup game.
Ooh, you know what? When is that game?
March something.
Is that the game against
25th?
Is that the game against the Rayados?
Yes, on the 25th. Yep, against Rayados.
In March.
Yep.
Okay. We Andy and I have talked about turning that into a road trip and going up for that.
I'll be there. Be awesome.
Wait, in 2020?
Yes, of course, the year 2020.
I was just... You're asking a date really slow, or really gradually, so I thought I'd jump in on that.
Oh,
I'll be
okay.
there too.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should just have like a big party van, or we should get a bus, a party
it'll be like
bus.
the Rayados again. We can just start playing the Dale Rayados on YouTube.
Let's not do that.
Let's not do that.
Yeah.
No, let's not do that. Okay, so we should talk further about that. We're a month out. We got plenty of time to figure it out and plan it, but that does sound like a fun night, especially because those two teams, and it is Open Cup. All right, well, let's move into topic du jour, which is FC Dallas. First question I want to ask you guys is the MLS website yesterday or today posted top 5 players for every position. And there was lots of mention of FC Dallas players in there, which was super cool. But am I the only one, and I'm torn by this because it's a really great honor, but is anybody else a little weirded out by the fact that whoever wrote this article thinks that the best left back in MLS is a guy who's been playing left back for maybe 2 years? In Ryan Hollingshead, by the way, who was ranked number 1 on the list at left back.
Well, I do think that Ryan was the best left back in MLS last season. I don't know if that makes him the best left back like in MLS right now. You know, because I think you have to think bigger picture than just one season. Because if you include more than one season, then no, he's not.
It was a bit of a weird one for me. I thought FC Dallas kind of got hard done by in some places, but I'm not sure Ryan Hollingshead was really top 3, let alone top. Just, I honestly thought that list was completely flipped.
Yeah, I think Ryan's come leaps and bounds in the position, and he's certainly the starter on this team at left back, and I have no qualms about that. But I'm never-endingly surprised that people think he's the best in the league at the position when there are guys that have been playing it their entire career. But I don't know. I was just wanting to get your
I'll tell you what I kind of took from that list, just from the defenders as a whole. They want whoever wrote that is clearly an obsessive fan of or stan for the millennials, myself included. There, damn, is clearly a fan of those mid-90s Brazil teams where the third best striker played left back and the fourth best striker played right back because their wing back choices were absolutely bizarre.
Yeah, the list was weird for me too, but that's not the first time I've seen people list Ryan as the best left back in the league, and this was just kind of a continuation of the same thing. And I don't want this to come off as knocking Ryan because I'm not trying to do that. It's weird that in a league of all these players and all these people that have played left back their entire career, people are putting him as literally the best left back in the league, and I don't know. It just seemed weird to me. Also today, speaking of fullbacks, on the other side of the field, Reggie Cannon caught a little social media noise today. Charles Boheim tweeting out some news that maybe the club or Dan Hunt has told him directly that they continue to work and make effort to try to sign Reggie to a long-term deal. Buzz, what do you know about that?
Well, I think if you read the quote, he actually didn't say... does he say long-term? I think he said big contract, which is not necessarily the same thing.
Fair enough. You're right. It does say big contract. I just assume long-term,
right.
But go ahead.
Well, I'll try and explain that. I actually predicted that a contract like this would happen about a week ago for my Patreons. And the reason something like this would happen is twofold. because the club has Reggie this season and next season because of their contract options, but it's at a really low number. So essentially, they're offering Reggie. We'll do I assume they'll do a 2-year deal, so the length is the same. We're going to bump the money way up, which for him could be anywhere from 250, 300 up to, I suppose, theoretically like 4, 5, 6, like Jesse and Puxton got. And the reason you do that without getting anything longer is because Cannon wants to go and wants to be sold, and you can sell him for more money if he gets paid more. See how that works? Because if he's getting paid $80K, they're going to say, you clearly don't value him. We're not going to give you any money for him. Whereas if he's getting paid $500K, well, obviously you do value him, and therefore he's expensive. So that's the trade-off. And then with that contract, you would say Reggie gets the benefit of the money short term, the club gets the benefit of a higher sale price, and you make some sort of handshake agreement that we'll do our very best to sell you this summer, this winter, whatever it is. And that's why you would see a deal like this happen. And that's why Dan's talking about offering, quote unquote, offering Reggie security because this is his home. We want to take care of him. That's how this would all work.
All right, but if anybody is suspicious or wants to look at it with an alternate motive in play, is there any suggestion that what signing him to that type of deal does is actually strengthens the Hunt's ability to maybe over-evaluate Reggie in terms of money and make it more difficult for clubs internationally to buy him, locking him into staying here in Dallas?
It would make him more expensive for sure than he is now. And that's something where Reggie would have to decide, is it worth it for me to get this money to be more expensive? And part of that too is if he costs more money, the player gets a cut of the sale, right? So he would get more money when he's sold, and he would get paid more because you'd have to give him a raise when he would go. So like if he's getting paid 500 here instead of 80, then whoever buys him is going to have to pay him a raise comparative to that money. So those are the benefits of Reggie. And what he won't do, I'm quite sure, is extend. So he won't give them more option years so that they could lock him up. He'll want to maintain that 2 years. So that's why this trade-off will be, from where I'm reading it and from what I'm hearing from people, that if this does happen, the trade-off is just going to be the money, in order to get the higher sale for FC Dallas.
But we can all agree on that the Hunts own the advantage here in terms of position because they do have that additional optional year to keep him here if they choose to do that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They have him through the end of the 2021 season. So he's kind of handcuffed in terms of being able to go. The club has to agree to sell him for him to go. So, in that sense, that's why he is kind of handcuffed. And if they can do a deal like this, they're probably hoping to create some goodwill with Reggie that he'll, keep him positive and keep him paid well, so that if for some reason some deal doesn't happen, then maybe they can get a new deal with him. They don't want him to be pissed off for 2 years because you're paying me $80K.
Hey Dan, did you happen to pick up on all kind of the, in the aftermath and replies to Charles's tweet about this and some of the follow-up and fan perspective? Did you pick up on the vibe that everybody seemed very positive about all of this? And at the same time, did you have the same thought of me? I wonder where these same people are going to be in July after Reggie has a killer first 3-4 months of the season, and now, like every July, the team sells off one of its best players, and suddenly the attitude about this is going to change, right?
Oh, totally. A lot of people's reaction was as if he's tied down for the next 5 years, and the reality is he's probably not going to be. Like Buzz said, give him the contract, increases value, and just the whole thing. And we spoke about this before of teams in other countries not really recognizing the value of option years and kind of saying, well, you don't have him under a contract, you have him under a clause. Yeah, people are gonna, he has a couple of good months, gets sold in the European preseason, the prime time to be sold, and then you'll have the Hunts are trying to sabotage the club and blah blah blah. Why do we sell the best players in the summer? And it's kind of the reality of MLS wanting to be a selling league and FC Dallas wanting to be a producer of talent rather than a procurer of talent.
Yeah, Andy on the radio show actually has brought this up a couple of times, specifically the conflict between the schedule of MLS and the desire to be a selling league. Those two things are really in conflict with each other. MLSsoccer.com also posted predictions on finishes. They got a bunch of different people to kind of predict where they thought each team would finish in their respective conference. And I guess on the 6 or 7 different people, it appears most people see Dallas finishing somewhere in 5th. I saw somebody post as high as 4th and a couple of people as low as 8th. And the reason why I bring this up is and I'm sure we'll do predictions next week, but I do want to throw in here the one thing that makes me curious, or the one thing that makes me think about how I feel Dallas will finish this year is the Reggie question, which is, if Reggie leaves in July, and we all assume he does, how ready is his replacement going to be? Because there's essentially 2 options as I see it. It's either Brisson, who stinks as a right back, and we know that because we've seen him fail there, and the other one is a kid who I'm assuming by the time July has showed up, has probably only started 1 or 2 games for the club this season.
Well, you could throw in Johnny Nelson, too. He's played opposite side before, but between the fact that Reggie's probably going to make the Olympic team and Reggie's probably going to continue to get called up by the national team, Reggie might miss a whole bunch of games in the first half of the season. So I think there's more chances to get whoever the replacement is going to be ready than we might have expected. So I would expect more like 5 or 6 chances to start. And then you can also include in North Texas time, of course, and then Open Cup play if that happens soon enough. I don't know off the top of my head, remember what it is. It'll be very telling when Reggie does go to the Olympic team or the national team who gets those games, because that's going to be pretty clearly the indicator of which direction they're going.
All right, so I guess we'll just have to sit and wait on that. Are we going to do predictions next week, guys? Is that what we want to do?
Yeah, let's do them next week. Yep.
Hey, Dan, I know you're not big on predictions. Can we get you to do it?
I just don't like predicting games because I always get those horribly wrong. Although that said, the first time Seattle won the MLS Cup, I did predict them to miss the playoffs entirely. So,
All right, good for you.
Good job.
Maybe we should put a bet on it, like a bet payoff for the person has the worst, prediction at the end of the year.
Yeah, let's do it.
Dan?
I mean, I'm from a country that allows sports betting just because y'all aren't.
We do now.
We do now.
Yeah.
Yeah, boy, that's coming hard and fast, no doubt about it. All right, Dallas did have a scrimmage earlier this week. Some team called the Philadelphia Union, and it was held somewhere else, not here, not there. Buzz, what did you see, and did you enjoy it? Good things to come? Question mark.
Yes, I liked what I saw, and to some extent. I think to a large extent, however, you can toss a lot of it out the window because they are playing Philly opening night. So opening day, whatever you want to call that. So I imagine that Philly didn't run out their 100% game plan and maybe not even their 100% lineup. Dallas certainly didn't. Dallas used a formation, the 3-5-2, or the 5-3-2 if you prefer that language. That is not a lineup they're going to play a lot. It is a lineup that Lucci's been working on this spring because he wants to have it in his arsenal of possibilities. Their ability in it is about where they were a year ago, maybe even more than a year ago, with when Lucci first came in terms of their ability to build in it and build out in it and play forward and play in combination. They're super raw in using that formation. They did much better with it with the starting sort of group than they did with the later on sort of group with a lot of young guys that really have no idea how to play that formation at all. And you could really tell that it got really rough at the end. But so both teams, I think, probably played their cards pretty tight in terms of how that will translate to opening day. But I did like it. I did think it was an interesting change-up. And overall, Dallas clicked pretty well and looked pretty good in terms of the new pieces that are available to play.
So, Dan, based on the fact that you guys haven't really seen the team play a lot because a lot of these games have taken place elsewhere than here. Are you getting a sense, Dan, based on your time at training and what you've watched online, as to where this team is in terms of form so far leading into the first game in a few days?
I mean, it's kind of tough to grasp. We had that 2-week hole when they were in California with very little access that made it difficult to judge any of that. And speaking to Lucha, he seemed pretty happy with where they're going. He said he felt that they were at least a week or two ahead of schedule from where they were last year, just with playing MLS. Goodness. Yeah, that can be edited out, right?
Maybe.
I accidentally burped, okay? I thought it was a hiccup. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. He was happy with, the team playing a higher standard of opponent earlier in the season. Happy with the increased travel, not just going to Arizona and then coming back, but going to California, coming back, going down to San Antonio, coming back, going out to Florida, coming back. He's talking about the stress, the mental and emotional stress that puts on players. He did say they opted for the bus to San Antonio for that reason. Not sure I completely buy that one. But that is a longer bus ride than they are even allowed to take under the CBA. So that's definitely a good, stress test.
I'm sure it was all about team building and spirit.
Spirit.
Yeah.
Spirit.
Because they had to pay to put their bags on the bus too.
Right, exactly.
Did they?
All right. I just thought it was a good link.
No, Dan's making a Spirit Airlines joke.
Oh, I missed it completely.
Right, yeah.
Let's keep up.
Flew over my head.
Hey,
that's my bad.
I do have a question for both you guys. What's the deal with Ricardo Pepi starting the last two games over Kobra?
Well, that probably means that Ricardo Pepi's starting opening day. There's some...
Whoa, hold on.
Yeah.
Wait a second. What?
Yeah. It's a little surprising, I know.
Kobra doesn't suck that much, does he?
No. There's some chatter floating around that Kobra has to have, or is going to have some kind of procedure or something, medical. We're not really clear what it is. I don't think he's injured. It's one of those things that the team's not going to discuss, because it's something personal. And I'm not going to pry deeply, but apparently there's a good chance that Kobra's not going to start opening day, but it'll only be a week or so, apparently. So it's hard to get more details on that one. We don't know. Maybe so. He does keep his hair shaved pretty short. I mean,
it's actually an extension to the Kobra tattoo.
He's getting it. Yeah. Okay.
Get more ink.
It's just going to run down his butt and down his leg.
Yeah, I don't. When something's personal, when they tell you something's personal in nature, it's hard to really dig into that, and maybe we'll find out eventually what.
Well, that makes me want to know even more, dude.
Yeah, I know. Maybe it's a vasectomy. Who knows?
Well, that would be really crappy time to have a vasectomy. Is right before opening day. I would like to think that Kobra is planning his childhood.
You've got to take from it that if it's going to be this close to opening day and leave him out of opening day, that it's not a cosmetic procedure or something that could have been scheduled beforehand, but something that's kind of come up or lingered, and it's key to get it out the way sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure there's a completely valid reason, but when Buzz said that Ricardo Pepi was going to start the opening day game, that just completely stopped me in my tracks, because that I was not expecting. But
we don't know for sure, but when you have a guy start the last couple of games of the spring, that's usually what that means.
Well, along with whatever you're hearing, I mean, if in fact you're also getting that in addition to some sort of sense or vibe or super secret hints or whatever, then I could see where you would come to that conclusion. All right, so that answers my question. Do they have any other scrimmages coming up before the Philly game?
Yes, they play Inter Miami this weekend.
And the University of South Florida, too.
Right. All right, college game. That'll be the second team game, basically, and then your Inter game is your final warm-up. So whatever you see in that game, more than likely will be what you'll see opening day. I mean, I would imagine.
Man, I got to tell you, I'm so fascinated to watch this Inter Miami thing. I have a feeling it is going to be a disaster. Simply because, if I understand this correctly, they played as a team for the first time a week ago on the field in a game. A week ago.
Yeah, I mean, they hired their coach late, and they're still adding players. So, I mean, they're going to be right there with FC Cincinnati, who just fired their coach. Well, they didn't fire him. They let him resign, a week out from the season. It's going to be a cluster.
Well, but at least that's a team. At least that's a team of guys that have been playing together, right? This is just this is like victory. It's just a bunch of ragtag guys all glued together and expected to.
Peter, its proper name is Escape to Victory.
You're right. I'm sorry, Dan. Apologies.
What?
Escape to Victory. That's
the name of the movie.
That's the original proper European release name of the movie. Escape to Victory.
Actually, I asked Lucci about that. He was talking about this game against Philadelphia and then Miami. It was going to be a chance to do like a full game week and how everything's scheduled out. And I sort of asked, have you been in touch with Miami about, I don't know, anything that you or they are looking for, or what's setting any standards? And he just looks and goes, I don't know. They've been really secretive. Yeah. I just know they've played a bunch of little scrimmages, had that one game. I don't know.
Signed a giant jersey sponsor deal. Oh my God, that is insane. Especially in light of the whole Man City news. But anyway.
It's going to be great when they get thrown out of CONCACAF Champions League before they've even qualified for it.
Yeah.
Hey, speaking of secret and personal, has anybody taken a close look at Santiago Mosquera yet this spring?
He's still alive?
Yeah.
He has more hair.
Look at his face next time you get a chance.
Oh, has he grown a mustache?
No. Just come back next week and see if you think what I think, and then we'll all just conjecture.
Well, no. Hold on. Did he get a face tattoo?
Not a tattoo, no.
A nose piercing?
No. You'll have to look at it and see if you can see the difference. See if you see a difference.
All right.
Yeah. I think he looks different.
Oh, my God. Please. Did he have plastic surgery?
I don't know. I have no idea. That's why I said, speaking of secret and personal, who knows? But he looks very different to me.
Like, different? Did he lose weight? Gain weight, maybe?
Possible. You'd have to look at the pictures and see what you think.
God, this feels
I'm
more
not
like,
entirely sure what.
This feels more like TMZ than.
Yeah. I don't know of anything specifically, but he looks very different. I passed him twice at training where I actually double-taked and was like, who the hell was that? And then I realized
I'm looking
it was
at a picture
Santi.
of him from Monday, and the only difference I can see is his hair.
You don't think he looks different from last year?
What's different about it?
Yeah, because he has blonde highlights and longer hair.
Maybe that's all it is.
God,
I don't know. He looks very different to me.
I would love it if I found out that Mosquera had rhinoplasty.
Did he get taller?
I don't think he got taller.
Did Mikey?
Mikey did not get taller either. He had a baby.
Is the baby taller?
Yes. Baby's
Mikey?
grow.
Oh.
Yeah, probably. Okay, so since we've fallen into the TMZ mode, Dan,
Yeah.
you might as well tell your amazing Rito Ziegler story. This is fantastic.
Okay, so I don't even know.
By the way, this is going to turn into a tifo at an away game, almost certainly. So
Yeah.
just pile it on, why don't you? That was a joke that you should have got there, but okay. So I'm out of practice Sunday, and Reto's on the sidelines, and I sort of call out to him, I was like, "Hey, Reto, what's going on? You got some tightness again?" Because he was out with some groin tightness a couple of weeks ago, and he looks over and he kind of laughs. He goes, "No, I have hemorrhoids." It's like, what? I was like, yeah, it makes it uncomfortable to train. I'll be good in a day or two. And I was like, he's German Swiss, and Germans aren't known for joking. So I don't know whether to take this seriously or not. Then speaking to Lucci a little later on and asking about a couple of injuries and get to Reto, and he's like, yeah, he's going to be good. He'll go to Florida. He's just dealing with something a little bit personal. And like, I didn't have the heart to say, yeah, he already told me. It was just at that same time, you're like, wow, he really wasn't joking at all.
Oh, the hemorrhoids. Boy.
So if FC Dallas can replace Advocare with Preparation H, that would be amazing.
Man, there's got to be a fantastic song that could be done about that. either for or against. Absolutely. Okay, so we've learned that Ricardo Pepi is probably starting due to some sort of mystery thing going on with Kobra, which then goes to Santiago Mosquera may have had rhinoplasty and Rito Ziegler has hemorrhoids. So there is your FC Dallas preseason in a nutshell right there on the Third Degree podcast. I'm proud of us very much. Speaking of Mosquera, whether he's had no plastic surgery or he just has long hair or Buzz just forgot what he looked like because he hadn't seen him in a while.
Yeah, it could just be me.
It could just be you. Does Santiago have any prayer of getting his position back from Pico?
Certainly not to start the season. I don't think. There's you can make the case that on a given day when he is on form, that Santi is a more creative, a more interesting, a more dynamic, better player than Fafa Pico. But he's a roller coaster, man. The guy's up and down, up and down. He's in and out of lineup. He can't stay healthy. He's not consistent, and that makes it impossible for a coach to game plan. If you don't know what you're going to get out of a guy on a given day, it's impossible to make a real structure, make a real plan. So Fafa Pico, who is, by the way, one of the best pressing wings in the league, which is prototypical Lucci ball, he offers the balanced component to Barrios, the verticality. So if you're Lucci and you're trying to make a game plan, you're trying to beat players in a parity league, beat teams in a parity league, why wouldn't you go with the guy that's the everyday professional and consistent? And this is both games and training. Part of being a pro is showing up and being ready and playing every time. And I think that means that it's Fafa's job for as long as he holds on to it and keeps playing, unless Mosquera finds himself again and starts producing at a high level consistently, it'll be Pico from here on out, pretty much.
All right. Now, when I've talked to friends that know his time at Philly, I've read a lot of reviews and so forth, and the general consensus isn't too dissimilar to the Baji kind of reviews that I got back in the day, which is good guy, hard worker. Well, maybe I didn't get that about Baji, but the one thing was not really a great finisher. And I'm wondering if either one of you have seen anything that jives with that or contradicts that in the time that you've watched him this preseason.
No, I have not. That seems right on the mark.
I mean, he was able to finish from a yard out yesterday, so that's encouraging at least.
But you haven't seen anything consistent in practice, like shots from distance or cutting back and finishing in the box.
I've seen him hit a couple, but no, not really. Even when they played a 3-5-2 with him as that kind of like side to side forward, he kind of didn't really. He still has his knees strapped up at the time, granted, but he didn't really look too threatening in front of goal. No.
All right.
If we could just sort of drag you back a little bit to the Santi
hemorrhoid
versus...
talk? No more hemorrhoid talk, Dan.
Okay. No more FCMZ. 3DMZ. There you go. That needs to be a T-shirt on the store. Go and do work, Buzz. The Fafa versus Santi thing. So one thing for at least the start of preseason is Santi was used more as like a 10, just as a body with really anyone else getting time on the left. So I don't know if they were trying to, like they've been doing with Derek Waldock at left back and Johnny Nelson in midfield, trying to sort of get him a little more acclimated to playing that kind of advanced playmaker role. But it doesn't seem like he was going to be the first choice left wing.
All right. In other news, Nikosi Burgess signed with the club, which you guys seem very excited about, but that does leave Cal Jennings kind of out in the woods. Buzz, what's your take on those two items?
Well, first off, Nikosi Burgess wins the greatest contract signing shirt of all time contest. If you know there was a contest, there definitely is one. For wearing a long sleeve tie dyed AC/DC T-shirt, so that's a win. And the thing I'm excited about Burgess is that did Dan
wear his matching one?
No, he didn't.
Okay,
yeah, that would have been good if they'd had matching AC/DC shirts. Is the remarkable progress that he makes, because I'm sure Dan will back me up on this, that he was atrocious the first couple of days in training. But, the athleticism is remarkable, and he does have the basic skills. So the progress is really astonishing, even just over the first 3 or 4 weeks now. He's still a ways off, still going to play for North Texas a ton, but to watch that kind of progression, can the guys be taught? Are they coachable? That's a big thing, and he clearly is. So that's a positive sign with him. Jennings is interesting, and Dan can tell you about the boots thing that makes it clear that he hasn't signed yet, aside from the fact they haven't announced anything. Essentially, the question I think that's being mulled over, and it's probably about 50-50 at this point, is can he help this team now, or do we need to develop him still and try and sign him for North Texas? And then on top of that, of course, is will he take a North Texas deal, because he does have an agent that reps MLS players, and would Cal rather go to, like, for example, a USLC team and try and make his way somewhere else? So the problem, if you will, quote unquote problem with Cal is that is Lucci particularly likes players that are flexible, can play two positions. So Cal's a prototypical number 9, has good pace, really good in the box, but he's not necessarily a clinical finisher. He's a good finisher. He's a good instinctual finisher, but he's not a clinical finisher. It's not pretty. And he does not press very well. So he can press, but he doesn't do it the way Lucci wants it done over a consistent long game, because he's used to subbing out. He's used to not going 90 minutes. He's also used to being the man. And so far, he's not really very good at playing wings. So there are some things there that are good, I think, that they can build on. And I personally think they should sign him, no question, but I'm not the coach. And there definitely seems to be a question here of whether they would rather have him at North Texas or MLS. And will he take either one of those? Well, presumably he takes an MLS deal, but will he take a North Texas deal? I don't know what's going to happen. Well, and this week's the big test for him. Probably the game against who's the college they're playing? Dan, Florida,
South Florida.
South Florida. That game probably will be the big tester, final shot for him to prove, yes, you should sign me, or no, I'll put me on North Texas.
Yeah, they're definitely looking for something more out of him. Every time I've spoken to Lucci about him from the first week, he said he's always been the guy who was physically stronger and faster than everyone, and he kind of leans on that, and they need to see a little more. He's not saying that quite as much now, but he's just saying need to see more, decisions still to be made. It's kind of hard. Like Burgess is actually a solid example. He was a really great physical player. He's upped his passing game. He looks more measured in when he sort of tries to bolt forward into a challenge. He's showing them something to work with, and I just feel like they're waiting for that with Jennings, because you think you've got Andrasic, you've got Pepi coming up, you've got Jesus can play up top, you're going to have Franco Jara, you've got Ronaldo Damas still on the books of North Texas SC, who could make the move up and potentially be at the same-ish level as a raw physical striker, which is what Cal Jennings is. So he's got to do something to really put himself in that pecking order somewhere.
All right, now Dan, I'm going to stick with you for a second. And Buzz hinted at this a few minutes ago. Something you wrote in a practice observation earlier this week was one of my favorite things you've ever written, and it's the type of insight that fans can only find at Third Degree. You're not going to find this kind of stuff anywhere else, and it really separates you guys from everybody else. But tell everybody your observation about the shoes tied to Cal Jennings, and then how that relates to Tanner Tessman, please.
Yeah, sure. So MLS obviously sponsored by Adidas. Part of the contract
that's pronounced Adidas here in the United States, Dan.
The guy's name was Adi Dassler. It's Adidas.
Don't ruin my childhood.
History lesson. Yeah, fine. Adidas.
All day I dream about soccer.
Yes.
That's how you learn to spell it here over the States. Anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt, Dan. Please tell the story about Adidas and Tanner Tessman and Cal Jennings.
So obviously with Adidas sponsoring the league, they have a little clause that says that any player that isn't signed to a boot deal with another company has to wear Adidas cleats. So they have a big shipment I think it's like quarterly, it's every couple of releases. So the current shipment is still October's boots, which are green and orange when you see them. So any contracted player right now is playing in blue and white ones, which are the January release, and I think that's called the Encryption Pack maybe, or something like that. Anyway, so these are like $250 a pair. So they don't just give them to everyone. They kind of give them to players as a sign of faith that, hey, we think you're good enough to sign, or we've signed you. So Derek Waldeck, after signing for North Texas SC, now he's playing in those green cleats. Cal Jennings, however, is still playing in the white Nikes that he played in college. So if he signs for it in MLS, he has to wear those Adidas cleats. So it just, I don't know, something doesn't really add up there.
All right, now relate that to Tanner Tessman.
Because Tanner Tessman is wearing those.
Wearing the green and orange ones?
Yeah, which means, the club have given some. And, there's been examples in the past where someone just traveling into town, they've lost their cleats, or they've, not remembered to bring them to the stadium, and they've been like, okay, well, yeah, here's some cleats to play in. But this is like kind of, like obviously Tanner Tessman isn't one of those people. You see him playing day in, day out in those.
Okay, so Dan, that's a fantastic observation, and again, props to you for bringing that up. That was one of the best things I've read about the club in a long time from anybody. So it was, nobody else would have spotted that, and I love you for spotting that. But Buzz, is that not an indicator that somewhere in a room, Lucci and the Hunts and whatever the Brazilian dude's name is, I always forget it off the top of my head, the technical director.
Andre Zanata.
Zanata, thank you. Are they all like huddling together trying to figure out how they talk Tanner and his family to skip the college thing and sign a homegrown deal? Is that what really is going on behind the scenes right now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that insightful answer.
I'll tell you why. The short answer is yes. You don't, FC Dallas in general, and in Tanner Tessman's case specifically, you don't have a player of his caliber from the 19s in your first team camp for all of spring training like this, taking him on both road trips, more importantly, having him wear first team gear, which does not happen usually until you actually sign. Like the day you sign your contract, they give you the first team gear. And so he's already wearing the first team gear. Now it is preseason, and if this was in the regular season, I'd be already saying, oh, it's done. So there's no question that the club is doing everything they can to get this kid to sign a homegrown contract. The only question is going to be, the kid is not dumb. He knows what a Clemson situation is worth, what that scholarship is worth. He knows what other guys get paid because the league announces it. So it's only a question of, can they bring enough to the table to convince his family and him to forego that Clemson relationship to sign? So is that going to happen now? Can they get it done? Maybe let him go for 1 year and do a Brandon Cervania, Reggie Cannon one and done. It's just going to come down to them convincing him that it's the right situation, because everything is happening that is 100% in line with exactly the way the process works when you're going to sign a homegrown.
All right, but if they talked him into it and signed him to a homegrown deal, is there any chance he starts games for Dallas in 2020?
Yes.
Really? At what position?
Yeah. Well, he's a linking 8, and right now you're missing both your starting linking 8s. And he's a natural 8. He's not a guy trying to convert to 8 like Thomas Roberts or Evan Surreal.
Thomas Roberts.
All right. All right.
Yeah. So, and then the other side of that coin is with the Olympic team coming, Paxton, Jesus, Brandon probably all gone.
Right. Okay. So
for big chunks of time.
Now, is Tessman on a North Texas deal?
No.
So he is one of the academy kids that is playing for North Texas, but has refused to sign a North Texas deal that you've been talking about.
Well, presumably, yes. I don't know if for sure he has turned a deal down or not. I would assume that he is a guy that has turned down a deal. That's a fair guess. I don't know for sure.
Okay, but I guess it's not an important detail because obviously he's not under a contract. Whether they've offered him one or not, I guess, is a relatively minor detail. But my point I'm trying to make is that it sounds like Tanner and his family have played their cards amazingly smart here, because now they've put FC Dallas in a position where they have no advantage whatsoever. This is a player they really want, and to your note, maybe even actually need. And Tanner holds all the cards at this point, and he could really press them for a serious homegrown deal.
Yeah, I would imagine that that's part of the discussion. And again, this is speculation on my part, but there's a difference between those bare minimum homegrown deals, which are Brian Reynolds has and which Reggie Cannon has, and the ones that some of the guys got when they came out of that are the higher caliber targets. Brandon Cervania got when he came out, that Paxton and Jesus had, because they're more creative, more attacking style for further up the field kind of players.
Didn't Dante Seeley get a pretty big deal?
Yeah, he did. So, Tanner, like I said, Tanner's not dumb. His family is not dumb. They can see those numbers. So it's very clear that those numbers are going to have to be in the ballpark and on the table for the kid to take the deal. And part of it is full credit to Tanner in the sense that he's dominating the developmental academy when he plays there. He's already shown that he can start and be a great player for North Texas. And in the games they've put him in this spring with FC Dallas, he's still hitting these 50-yard cross-field bombs on stride and doing everything you've seen him do with North Texas in the academy at the MLS level and MLS speed. So he's clearly demonstrated that he can hack it. And there obviously is some level of discussion, or he would not be in camp. If he was flat out selling them to take a hike, they wouldn't have taken him. They're not going to bring him along just for the kicks if he has zero interest in signing.
Yeah, he is a monster of a human being. And for those who are listening but don't really know, Tessman has signed to go play at Clemson, but it's a two-sport scholarship. It's not just soccer, but it's also to be a kicker for the football team. And that's a huge deal. And the value of that is you just can't put a financial value on that in many ways. So if the Hunts are going to figure out a way to get him to stay and sign a homegrown deal, whether he plays this year or not, they are going to have to roll out some serious dough, I bet, to get him to sign that contract.
Yeah, serious on homegrown terms. I mean, he's not going to get the $600,000 that Jesus and Paxton have, but he's definitely going to be in the more of the ballpark of your Dante Seeley, Brandon Cervania homegrowns than your Brian Reynolds homegrowns.
What were the values of those? The 250-ish?
Oh, off the top of my head, Cervania is 120, and Paxton and Jesus at the time were something like 130, 150 maybe. Brandon is on 160, so his has escalated a little bit. Thomas Roberts is 110, whereas Dante's actually low. Dante's at 80 and Pepi's at 80. So, those are the different ranges. It's going to be on the higher end of that, I think, pushing towards Brandon's kind of money probably.
Yeah, well, and even then, I'm not sure that number eclipses the value of a 4-year scholarship to Clemson to play two sports, especially if he's legitimately if he's a legitimate potential NFL level kicker, then that's a whole different deal, right?
Well, the funny story about that was that Tanner's never played high school football. He's never kicked American style football in a game type situations. So he went down there to a football camp, and he was kicking 45-yard field goals without any training at all. Basically, just whipped out and kicking them. And they're like, "Wow, that's really terrific." No, he's kicking it left-footed. And so then they were like, okay, try one right-footed, which is a naturalist foot, and then he kicked him 60 yards. So it's like they're like, here's a scholarship, basically like on the spot. Yeah. But the bottom line in this kind of situation is, what's the kid's dream? Does he want to be a pro soccer player, or does he want to be a pro football player? If he wants to be a pro soccer player, then it's a no-brainer that this is the way to go. Then the question is only a one and done versus now. So it's going to be down to him and how much money it is.
Yeah, the Tanner Tessman story is one to watch for this season. I don't know how soon or quickly that gets rectified. Obviously, it's going to have to be sooner than later because the kid's going to leave for college. But I find that fascinating. And let's just quickly review some of the health stories. Paxton, Matt, Brandon, Brian, and Thomas. What's going on with those cats?
So Pomical should be cleared by the end of the week. Hopefully that means he'll get some playing time against Inter Miami. We'll see. If he doesn't, then there's no way that he'll be ready for opening day, which is a shame. Hedges did play half the game, so his quad thing seems to be clearing up, so he should be ready for opening day, which is good because the defense is so much better with him back there. Brandon Cervania and Brian Acosta are about on the same time frame, so they're probably still 2.5 weeks away from being able to come back based on the original timelines. Roberts' ankle, he tried to play through it, and then they shut him down a little bit. Like he hasn't played in like 4 or 5 days now. So, but he should be back pretty soon, hopefully, as well. And that's about it, really, for injuries.
And Rito Ziegler has hemorrhoids.
But he's already playing again, so that's fine.
He is 34, and I do wonder, is that one of the team's potential Achilles heel? Is that if Matt or, if Ziegler at his age, and, I don't know, is that something we need to worry about at all?
I'm definitely worried about it. Ziegler is a defender that's more about his mind and game reading, but there are times where he's been caught on and Dan, we've talked about this, that the slashing run between the outside back and him, particularly if the outside back's caught up, can sometimes catch him because he has no help on the outside and they can just run by him. So I do worry that Ziegler is 34. He'll be 34, through the complete season. He won't turn 35 during the year, but just big picture, it's like how's he going to hold up in the heat? How's he going to hold up over the heavy workload that he had to do? Because so far, Brisson has not provided a real challenge to take that spot at all. And even if you want to go beyond that, if you're thinking that this team has a 2 or 3 year window to maybe win a couple of cups with these to maybe win a cup with these, ride the wave of these young kids, because eventually Paxton and Jesus are going to be gone. You can't ride Ziegler for 2 or 3 more seasons, can you, at 34? So it's now the time to actually burn that bridge and make that change and try and figure out who the hell's going to play center back over the next 3 seasons, because how many more seasons does Ziegler have in him, if it's even this season?
I don't know, and it is something to watch out for. It's not like they've got somebody just waiting in the wings to fill it, to take that other spot. And it's the one thing I do. Again, thinking about how I want to make a prediction next week, it is one of the spots that I do have as a question mark. All right, now I also saw on the website this week, Buzz, that you actually attended something called North Texas Soccer Club training. I did. Tell us about that.
Well, as I said a couple of times in various spaces in our reporting, that I only expected 4 players to be back, which is remarkable. It's now going to be 5 because Ronaldo Damos is coming back. The loan I was expecting did not come to fruition, so that's okay. He's a raw kid, so I'm okay with him at 1 more year in North Texas. That's fine. But other than that, there's a whole bunch of guys that I've never seen before. And some of them are new signings, one of which named Juan Manuel Alvarez. The coaches just call him Juan Manuel, so I'm not sure which one of those various names is his actual last name, but he's apparently good enough that they took him to Florida. FC Dallas did, which is interesting. He's the kid from Monterey that's here for a year on loan. And Monterey's got loads of talent, so you can get a guy out of there that might actually be pretty good. So we'll see what the deal is with him. He's a linking 8 type, so some of that, of course, was just numbers where there have been all these injuries they have. But
no trialist from Bayern Munich yet?
No, from Bayern Munich.
Oh, okay.
And Danny Welbeck's the other draft pick they took to Florida too. So
Danny Welbeck, the former Manchester United and Arsenal striker.
That guy Welbs.
Waldeck. So anyway, the couple other players that are worth talking about are the couple of new signings. The Brazilian kid Allison is a Carlos Grezzo style, super thick, intimidating bulldog-looking 6. And I don't mean he's fat thick. I mean he's muscle thick. I think people are going to like him. He's kind of rough. The right back Cuadrado.
Wait, when you say rough, you mean like his overall
intimidating?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, physical. Dominating of the ball. Has a presence.
Don't take his
announces
sandwich.
His presence with this authority. Yeah, he'll take your sandwich. Yeah,
right.
You don't want to run into him in an alley.
All right.
So the right back Cuadrado is super raw. He did not impress me a lot. That's a project player. The other Brazilian, Philip Ponder, the senior out of SMU, has got better feet than I expected. He actually looked pretty good. Very vocal, lots of leadership there. I liked that. And then the Alex Bruce, who's the player that played for. I'm trying to go quick here. Played for Quills Academy, is a prototypical 9 type, so more of a Kobra style in the box nine, as opposed to Damus's vertical over the top. So some good change up there. A guy named Kamar Marriott, who was drafted by Sporting KC last year out of Florida Gulf Coast, is a former FC Dallas academy player, actually premier player, one of the bounce back and forth guys. So that's kind of cool. He's 6'4", so that's nice to see a former FC Dallas guy rewarded with this opportunity. And then for me, the most bizarre sighting or scouting I did there was a kid from the UPSL, believe it or not, who plays for Floro SC, which is Michelle's UPSL team he coaches. The kid's name is Guillermo Estrada, and this is one of those bizarre local kids where it's like, who the heck is this kid that Michelle found somewhere? I have no idea. And in the small space drills, I didn't think much of him and notice him much, but then they played a full field game where it opened up, and he came alive. I mean, he was running by people and scoring goals. I was like, wow, who is this kid? It's sure a UPSL player. So it's like playing pub league, basically.
Yeah, I'm sure he's one of the hundreds of really, really skilled and high-quality Sunday league players that Dallas-Fort Worth has an absolute treasure trove of. Whether or not it ever translates to MLS level is another story, but there's a ton of that talent out there.
Real quick, just the thing that's interesting for me about it is that presumably he's young, but between him from Michelle's club and a kid they're going to bring in from Ed Puskarich's Texas Spurs, it's interesting to see them sort of work some of these local semi-pro relationships and maybe even take some looks at some guys. So that's an interesting relationship building for a new club like this. So that's cool.
And I want to ask Dan about the WPSL here in a second, but one of the things that I did not know until the other day, it reflects on the idea of the fact that the Hunts chose to give this team a completely different name and brand. Because I'm asking this because I was really shocked to find out today. I did not know that Sporting Kansas City has made the decision to change the name of their USL team away from Swope Park Rangers, which was one of the cooler brands out there, and I think they're just going to call them Sporting KC2 from now on, and I don't think they're the only ones that have made that decision.
They and Philadelphia retired the Bethlehem Steel brand because both, with the new USL rules, had to move the teams back to their MLS stadiums from the towns they were playing in.
So interesting. Well, they could have still called them Swope Park Rangers, though, right? Or no?
Well, they could have, but they don't play in Swope Park anymore.
All right.
And people complain that Bethlehem still didn't play in Bethlehem. They played in the town next to it. So moving them back to Chester, I mean, it was just kind of a piss take if you kept the name then.
Okay. Well, I that was news. That was both of those were news to me this week, and I still ponder on occasion the idea of whether or not naming this team North Texas SC instead of FC Dallas 2 or Juniors or something.
The University of North Texas SC is a fantastic name.
Okay, Dan, let's move over to the WPSL. It turns out that after all of that being told to wait, just hold on, it turns out FC Dallas has decided to abandon the women's top flight team that they once somewhat kind of had some sort of weird attachment to.
We got like the final day to confirm registration. They put the conference alignments out, and FC Dallas's place is suddenly called Dallas Fort Worth Under 23. Wouldn't be the first time FC Dallas's teams were called something else because FC Dallas didn't pay for them. Hence the reason FCD Women was FCD Women and not FC Dallas. So obviously Buzz reached out to FC Dallas and got this weird response of, hold on, we think we know what team you're talking about, but that decision isn't made until much later. Which, got me thinking, that's strange because normally they're holding trials by now. Right. And, in full pre-season mode, the league starts in May, but for the ECNL and DA girls, they're getting ready. And then the college kids come in a little bit later on. So actually, John Sager, South Star FC, the team president there, reached out and said, actually, yeah, we've been approached to take the second spot, the vacant spot. So, yeah, FC Dallas completely inaccurate in what they said. They actually, John told me he was offered the spot by WPSL back in December.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So essentially, Dallas isn't going to have a team. There will be a team in Dallas, but it's going to be a sister club to the one in Fort Worth or something along those lines.
So the one in Fort Worth is actually managed by Eric Craw's wife, Susan, who is a former U.S. women's national team striker. She was the next Mia Hamm at both UNC and for the U.S. A couple of injuries and stuff kind of sidetracked that a little bit, but... she was a successful college coach. Her and Eric actually managed at university together.
This is way more detail than I really wanted, Dan.
Oh, my bad. So yeah, they were really good last year. They had Emily Alvarado, who is the Mexican national team's #1 keeper. She was at TCU. They had a Ali Thornton, who was at SMU and is now signed for Le Havre's professional team in France. They're very good. They have a very big squad. So they were like, we play at TCU. We have a large squad. Let's play in Dallas as well. And split the squad up, add to it. Do what FC Dallas were doing beforehand. Taking advantage of the fact that Dallas Sting and Solar and everyone else don't have a solution for kids to play soccer past the age of 19.
Right. How many of those teams are there now in the Dallas-Fort Worth area?
There are 3. So there's the 2 South Star teams, and there's Texas Spurs, which is Ed Piskarish's team. And then their conference is... they're in Parker.
Parker. I don't even know where Parker is.
No, sorry, they're in Lucas.
Oh, Lucas. Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird drive.
I vaguely know where Lucas is.
So there will be one team actually in the city of Dallas.
All right. Well, thank you for clarifying all of that. FC Dallas women, RIP. Pour one out for them. All right. Anything else that we want to cover today before we wrap up this episode of Third Degree of the podcast?
I have 2 little things. One is the Psychics had all their gear stolen out in Ontario, California.
Well, at least now that means they won't lose because they won't play. But then I found out that they got some sort of deal where they got uniforms. But then I wondered, is there any chance the players, they didn't get stolen, they left them behind because they didn't want to play because they're so terrible? Or sold them at the airport or something like that?
Wait, what are you talking about? The Dallas Sidekicks playing Mesquite.
Right. I'm so confused.
This little...
you very much confused the situation. I'm just talking about the stolen gear, Dan.
Just trying to make fun of it all.
It was the gear alone is a pretty funny story, and then of course it turns into a heartwarming story because their opponent helped them acquire new gear, and they ended up getting to play last night where they promptly pummeled them 11-0 or something like that, right?
Yeah, it was pretty much a stomping. I mean, there's only Sidekicks have 2 wins, although there are actually 3 teams worse than that, which is remarkable.
Whoa, wait a second. What?
Yeah. There's one team that has no wins, and one team that has 1 win.
So is the table in the MASL essentially 3 or 4 teams that have all the wins and 3 or 4 teams, which include the 2 Dallas area teams, with almost no wins?
Yeah, Mesquite has 5 wins and Dallas has 2 wins. Well, they're divided into conferences, but the Eastern Conference has a team, Orlando, with 1 win, and Rochester has 0 wins. So, there's some pretty terrible teams in... in the Eastern Conference, the team, other than the one win and the 0 win teams, the next worst team has 8. So there's a real imbalance.
Oh my gosh.
In the Eastern Conference. Yeah.
Wow. Maybe there is something to the idea they sold the uniforms. I don't know.
Yeah, there might have been.
All right.
Trying to get the latest high school signing.
All right. So what was the other thing you wanted to discuss, Buzzard?
The other thing was that the FC Dallas U15s and U17s advanced to the GA Cup, which will be this summer. The U15s team is fantastic. They have a kid, Jordan Jones, who just got called up to the U17s, which is 2 years up. So they're really good. They have a chance to win it. And then the U17s finished last in their group. They are not very good at all. And they'll be, thankfully, everybody gets into the GA Cup, but they're going to be in what's called the Tier 3. So it's not going to be very good teams. But at least they're going to be in it, and hopefully they can redeem themselves and get a little better.
That U15 team's the one that you've been pipping in my ear about for a while, right?
Yeah, that's Peter
Vermees's team.
No,
Lucene.
That's the Kansas.
Lucene,
Peter Lucene. Yeah, Peter Lucene's team that won Dallas Cup when they were U13s. Yeah.
Peter Vermees is sidelining as an FC Dallas youth coach now.
Right. Yeah. So that U15 team is really loaded. I mean, they've had 7 or 8 kids get various national team things out of that already, and there's even 3 or 4 guys that are better than the guys that haven't. So it's a spectacular team with a whole bunch of guys that depending on the way things go could end up being pros, and they have a legit shot to win the GA Cup, which is the only thing that the FC Dallas Academy hasn't won. The GA Cup. So
really?
They're really going to be yeah, that's the only thing that's the only big competition. They've won the DA championship, they've won Dallas Cup, they've won lots of other tournaments, like they won the Bayern Munich tournament, that's this team, by the way, they won the Bayern Munich tournament.
The only thing they haven't won?
I'm talking about the Academy. I actually said specifically the FC Dallas Academy.
Oh, I thought we were going to forget about the big one, the MLS Cup.
Yeah, no, that's first team pro talk, not Academy talk.
All right. Okay. Well, good luck to them for sure. Go check out the U15s on Buzz's recommendation.
Yeah, they're really good.
Not the U17s. Don't check those. I'm out.
U17s are not. They're not good.
All right, Dan. I took a moment to reflect while Buzz was speaking, and I realized that maybe I may have missed out on your humor because it's British humor, and so I apologize if I made you feel lesser in not laughing at your joke about the Outlaws and the Celtics.
I can never feel lesser. I just have a stiff upper lip about it.
Great. Okay, Dan, well then thank you very much for your time tonight. And again, kick-ass story about the shoes. I appreciate that.
You're most welcome, and thank you.
And Buzzard, thank you as always for your good work. Would you like to pimp your Patreon, please, sir?
Oh, I would like to pimp my Patreon at patreon.com/Third Degree. We're up to 88 patrons, and we're getting close to our first goal, which was 100. And thanks, Peter, for coming back this week after I screwed the schedule up last week. And one last kit news fun item. Ooh. The North Texas kits are late because they're having the little star for the championship put over their badge. That's pretty cool.
That is very cool.
Yeah. How to get that one in.
I don't know how I feel about the fact that the first star is on our reserve team, but okay. Oh, yeah. That doesn't hurt at all. No. All right. And by the way, it's just a crime. And Buzz, I want you to be excited, and you should be excited you're at 88 Patreons. Yeah. But I just got to be honest. It drives me bonkers that in a market of this many people on an MLS Pro level team with the type of work and content that you are producing, that you can't get 100 Patreons. And it's not like you're asking them to give you $5 a month. If they just want to give you $1 a month, $12 a year for all the stuff that you do, that's all you got to do. So come on, people, help the dude out. He's literally the only independent journalist doing this day in and day out for the team that you supposedly love, and you must because you're listening to this stupid podcast. So get on with it. Go log on to the Patreon thing and donate Buzz $1 or $2 or $10 or something. Just do it for Christ's sake already.
Pay the man.
Yeah, thank you for that ringing endorsement. I appreciate it. $5 is a great number, but as you say, it's open to whatever people feel like they get value-wise from us. That's what we want them to do. Hopefully you like this podcast and give us some support.
And if it helps you make that decision any easier, I don't get any of the money. How about that? So there.
That's true. There's money? No, there's not. No. Not yet.
I thought it was like Karma on Reddit. You just got loads of that.
Yeah. No.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. And I look forward to doing this next week. And thank you, FC Dallas fans. And we will speak to you, like I said, next week with predictions for the 25th season of Major League Soccer on the next edition of Third Degree, the podcast.
Thomas Roberts.